Hi, I'm Ruth Gaunt. I'm an associate professor in the School of Psychology, and I'm going to talk about our project on gender and parenting, which is funded by the Nuffield Foundation. I will first give a brief overview of the project and then reflect on how it has been affected by the pandemic and mainly the operational challenges we have faced and how we've handled them. I will then hand over to Anna Jordan, who will reflect more about the methodological challenges brought by the pandemic and how we have changed our approach in response to these challenges. And we will end with some insights on what we've learned from this experience and where we're going from here. We are a team of 5. I'm the PI on the project, Anna Jordan is the co-I, Anna Tarrant and Mariana Pino are researchers on the team, and Agata Wałżek is the research associate. The project duration was initially 2.5 years, and we had a neat, meticulously planned timetable for each task and contingency. You can see a very small part of this timetable on the slide. We also had a plan B for some parts of the project, some tasks which we knew might not go smoothly, but we definitely didn't have a plan B for the case of a pandemic. But before I talk about the challenges we have faced and how we handle them, I will give some overview of the project to give a background or context. Our research focuses on how parents organize work and childcare. Almost all heterosexual couples with young children organize family responsibilities in line with gender norms. So mothers are almost always the main caregivers and fathers are almost always the main breadwinners. This means that women compromise their careers or work lives and put their family first. They tend to take long leaves for childcare, they tend more to work part-time, seek flexibility over advancement. In the same way, fathers compromise or men compromise their family life and put their paid work first. They tend to work full-time, usually longer hours, and they are reluctant to take long leaves for childcare. And this persistent gendered division of family roles disadvantages and restricts both men and women. Women compromise their work lives, as I said, they miss opportunities for career advancement and recognition, and at the same time men compromise their family life and miss opportunities to develop close relationships with their children as main carers. So our aim was to understand how a less gender division of family responsibilities can be achieved, and when it is achieved, how it affects parents' well-being and satisfaction, the quality of the relationship, and so on. To this end, we compared couples with young children who share work and childcare equally with couples who reverse roles so that the father is the main caregiver and the mother is the main breadwinner, and also as a sort of control group with more traditional parents, which form the vast majority of the population. The idea is that couples who share equally or who reverse roles resist normative pressures for gender division, and so they can maybe teach us about the conditions that enable or even facilitate a less gendered division of responsibilities. We used a mixed method design to compare these 3 groups, and we had 3 broad research questions. First, we wanted to know what equal sharing and role reversing actually look like. How do these couples achieve equality, for example? Is it through outsourcing childcare or maybe reduced work hours of the parents? Then we looked at the routes to non-traditional division of responsibilities. We measured these parents' social psychological characteristics, such as their identities and ideologies. And we also looked at, for example, what workplace schemes were available to them, what kind of parental leave they took and for how long, and so on. And finally, we looked at the consequences of sharing equally or reversing roles in comparison to traditional division of roles in terms of both individual and relationship outcomes, so life satisfaction and self-esteem and well-being, as well as relationship quality and satisfaction. The project had two phases. The quantitative phase included administering a very comprehensive survey to a large representative sample of couples with young children. The survey was commissioned from YouGov, and the data were collected in February 2020. And then the qualitative phase included in-depth, semi-structured interviews with couples of the three smaller, obviously, samples of couples of the three study groups, so equal sharers, role reversers, and traditional couples. And it was originally planned for March, to begin in March 2020. So this means that when the coronavirus outbreak started, the quantitative data collection just ended, and we were about to start the qualitative phase. The lockdown, school closure, and social distancing measures all posed significant challenges to the project: methodological, conceptual, operational. One main challenge was a school closure. Our project aims to explore, capture couples' dynamics, daily decision-making during normal times when the parents work normally and the children attend daycare or school as normal. So we decided that the interviews should not be carried out before the children are back to school. As a first step, we asked the Nuffield Foundation to agree an extension to the project. We revised the timetable and delayed the qualitative data collection by 6 months in order to extend the project without increasing the costs. We furloughed the research associate for the same period of time during the delay. We then looked for ways to speed up other parts of the project to somehow compensate for the delay. We reallocated some of the tasks and budgets. For example, in the original plan, the research associate was supposed to travel to the participants' home to carry out the interviews, and was also planned to do the transcription work. Now that traveling was out of question, we asked the Nuffield Foundation to reallocate this unused budget or funding for travel to outsource the transcription work. And this then enabled the research associate later on to focus on carrying out the interviews and doing the qualitative analysis without worrying about transcription. I will now hand over to Anna to explain more about the methodological challenges we have faced and how we handle them.
Hello, I'm Anna Jordan, a Senior Lecturer in Social and Political Sciences. As Ruth mentioned, although the interviews for the project are currently taking place and we're close to achieving the sample, the pandemic posed numerous challenges on both a conceptual and practical level for the project as we moved into the qualitative research, and we've had to adapt to constantly changing circumstances. First, on the conceptual level, we had to think about whether the project remained relevant. We believe it does, despite not being originally designed to explore parenting during a pandemic. The effects of the pandemic, things like varying working hours, access to childcare provision, potentially losing jobs. In some ways, these have all been complex factors affecting couples before the pandemic and have been examined in our study. Nevertheless, there was an obvious need to engage with interviewees' pandemic experiences. So we made some changes. The chief amongst these were to, for example, modify our online screening survey to capture whether participants' work and parenting arrangements had changed since March 2020. The interview schedule was also amended, and this was to allow for the interviewer to adapt the questions they asked the couple depending on their answers to the survey. We asked all participants to reflect on why the pandemic has, or equally of interest, has not affected their arrangements. More practically, social distancing meant that we had to move our interviews online, raising ethical and technical considerations. There were relatively few ethical issues that we had not already addressed for planned face-to-face interviews in this case. However, the team thought carefully about how to continue our research both ethically and sensitively in the online context, and we submitted an ethics amendment to the University Ethics Committee. Interviews have mostly taken place via Teams so far, but interviewees are given a choice of formats to maintain rapport and ensure inclusivity. So we had to develop clear instructions and guidance for participants on using formats, as well as offering support to them where needed. Finally, despite our initial concerns, in practice the interviewer found no barriers to establishing and maintaining rapport with interviewees in a virtual context. This might be partly due to increased familiarity and comfort with video communication platforms at the current time. So what have we learned from our experiences? Interviewing during the pandemic has allowed us to explore our research questions, but has also produced some unanticipated insights, and you can read about those on our project website. Overall, the move to online interviews has been very beneficial, in fact, for our particular project, perhaps especially because some of our target populations are quite small. So more flexibility for both the interviewer and the interviewees has helped us in reaching people. Finally, requesting an extension from the funder, as Ruth discussed, was crucial to allow us to make these changes and keep the project on track in unprecedented circumstances. In terms of next steps, we hope that answering the research questions will help us to identify key work and family policy changes and evidence for the benefits of a less gendered division of labour. Our communication plan has been designed to target key stakeholders as well as to document potential impact. Our quantitative data was collected in February 2020, just before the start of the pandemic, so there is a unique opportunity here to assess potential long-lasting effects of lockdown and the changing economy on couples' paid work and childcare arrangements. Equally, the qualitative data being generated during the pandemic has led to some insights emerging which will lead to further questions about how couples negotiate and perceive these potentially long-lasting effects. There's therefore scope for further research. Thanks for listening. You can find more information about the project, blog posts, and eventually our findings on our website, or you can follow us on Twitter.